from my voice, but I have never seen anything like it.
You believe in miracles? Yes! Unbelievable.
Welcome to the podcast. Everybody who is new, thank you for listening for the first time. Everybody that's been around, thank you for subscribing and sending it to all your friends. We're getting a lot of really good feedback. This episode, Connor Yarbrough, one of my closer friends, and a media junkie, kind of like myself. That's why we get along so well. Talking about the 2020 Grammys. Connor is one of the best people to talk to about this type of stuff because he lives and breathes it. So I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to jump to the interview for you. Here he is, Connor. All right, in the studio with me right now, we have Connor Yarbrough talking to us about the 2020 Grammys. Let me just say, Connor, from the start, I was really excited to have you on because this is the guy that I go to every day to talk about music and pop culture. So having you on is great.
No, I'm super excited to be here, especially for the Grammys this year. I feel like there were a lot of notable moments, notable awards received and not received, and I guess we're going to talk about those today. So
before we get into the entire thing, I have to talk about Kobe Bryant, who I think the entire thing, it was just a cloud over Los Angeles. You could kind of feel it, I think, in the award show. I didn't get to see the entire show, but I did see the Boyz II Men tribute, and it was just, because I know you're not an NBA fan. Did you kind of feel it too?
Oh, yeah, there was 100% a vibe straight from the beginning that I think kind of threw Alicia Keys off as well, and I know that some people on social media were a little bit upset that the Grammys and like the security around the Staples Center weren't as happy with or as accepting of the people who were coming to mourn the loss of Kobe Bryant yesterday. But yeah, it's a tragic loss for everybody, I would say, in the country, but especially in Los Angeles. So for that to kind of plague the show in general is, I don't know, it was a difficult thing for them to bounce off of.
I think it kind of affected everybody differently, but the one performer that I got to see that didn't affect her at all was Lizzo. And I wanted to kind of get your thoughts on that, her performance.
I completely agree. I think Lizzo opened the show with a bang. She was absolutely amazing. She kind of set the stage for people to be performing their medleys, especially if they were nominated for Album of the Year. So to hear her open with 'Cause I Love You, I think that she delivered vocally in a way that some people might try to write her off of sometimes because they like to put her into that like female rap category. But she delivers so much more than just female rap. So I don't know. I think to do that showed her a great range of versatility, especially when she went into Truth Hurts. We got a little bit of her flute. She also did a bunch of her dancers just looked amazing as well. It was well-rounded and just full of energy. It kicked the show off right. I don't think they could have picked anybody better.
It felt like a palate cleanser to me, and she has done that time and time again, it feels, since she's really come on the scene with a bang with Truth Hurts. It feels like every single time there's like an issue in the country or an issue with the performances or there's some sort of drama going on, that Lizzo comes out and is a good palate cleanser and kind of kickstart and kind of just restart everybody's energy again.
Absolutely. I think that having her also accept the first televised award of the night too, I can't remember exactly what it is off the top of my head. I want to say it was Best Pop Solo Performance. Well deserved for the track as well. It is just very, I don't know, there's something about Lizzo in general that comes across as very authentic and genuine, and having someone like that kick the show off and kind of set the bar energy-wise for the night was, I agree with you, very refreshing.
So you're kind of known, Connor, for telling me like how it is, what's hot, what's not, what you love, what you hated. And I think that there was a lot of stuff that you could like. So I want to kind of dive into that. What are some of the highlighted moments that you really enjoyed from last night? Or Monday, or Sunday night, I should say.
I want to say that the show this year was saved predominantly by the performances, which in past years I would be like hesitant to say because I feel like there's either hits or misses, especially with the performers I am not like particularly like
fond of.
Not necessarily fond of, but that I don't like listen to on a regular basis. Of course, I'll be excited for performers like Lizzo, Billie Eilish, Tyler, the Creator, but I might not be as excited for artists like Brandi Carlile or Tanya Tucker. That's not because I dislike
or Blake Shelton
or speaking. I mean, that's a low moment. We can get to those in a minute, but yeah, it's not because they're any less talented. It's just because I don't focus on them. So I think last night was a good mix of performers, though I do wonder why Lana didn't get her spot to kind of show what her talent was all about and give us that medley that I would have liked to see, especially as an Album of the Year nominee. But high points, I would definitely say Lizzo, amazing. Billie Eilish's performance to me proved why she was completely deserving of Album of the Year. I think for her to kind of close this When We All Fall Asleep, Where Do We Go era by performing at the Grammys, completely sweeping them, and performing a track like When the Party's Over, where it's just her sitting down with her brother Phineas and singing this track, it allowed us to see, while she can put on a show and while she can deliver these like radio hits, there is talent, there is feeling, and I don't know, it just to me it just proved a lot of her ingenuity and authenticity coming towards the art form.
This summer, I thought we had 3 artists that stood out. 3 artists kind of broke on the scene that, if you asked me in 2018, hey, do you expect this type of I would have said, who are these people? It was Lizzo, it was Billie Eilish, and it was Lil Nas X. And of all of them, I think that Billie Eilish has the most staying power. Do you agree?
I don't know. I think that Lizzo, now that she's broken onto the scene, has definitely cemented herself as someone to keep an eye out for. And I would also say that Lil Nas X is still so early on in his career that he could pivot it into really anything that he would want to do. The success, I don't know if he'll reach the success of Old Town Road or Panini again, simply because those songs, I feel, were aimed at putting him on the map, especially by pulling in
young artists,
Billy Ray Cyrus and like all of these different remixes. He was capitalizing as much as he could on this hit, especially because of TikTok and stuff too. But
it felt like there was a time in like the late 2010s where it was like internet rap. And that was it was like the funny stuff. Lil Dicky kind of jumped on that too. Lil Nas X feels like the next evolution of that, where it's just internet rap. And I agree with you. The Panini and Old Town Road is like what gets you to the spot. It's what can you stay there? Can you keep that? And that's why I think Billie Eilish stands out, because like you mentioned, her performance. She's a performer. ACL. Everybody, I know both of us knew a lot of people.
People were bopping. Everybody was dancing, moshing at some points, and it's to Billie Eilish, so it was a little funny. But
which is crazy. But there's people that I knew that bought ACL tickets just to go see her, and that is always mind blowing, because you hear about like, oh, Paul McCartney is going to be there, okay, I'm going, or like Kanye is going to be there, okay, I'm going to go. But Billie Eilish, a relatively young artist,
very young, and I would say young in the terms of like the duration of her career so far. She's very much at the beginning. She's only had 2 EPs, and this is her first solo album. So for her to be headlining shows across the country, across the world, and to be the 3rd artist in history to win all 4 of the general categories in a single year at the Grammys. The only other people who have done that are Criss Cross and Norah Jones. So to kind of put her on a level like that is daunting, but having seen the year that she's had, it's not a surprise to me at all. She is literally neck and neck with Ariana Grande as the top streamed artist in the world. So she went from just a couple 100,000 followers and listeners maybe a year and a half ago to more than a majority of the stars who were on that stage last
Let's
night.
talk about Ariana Grande for a second, because I thought that she had a pretty good award night. She had a good show, had a good performance, but did not walk away with the awards that I think a lot of people thought she was going to win. What was your takeaway from her last night?
I thought that she looked amazing just in general. I love seeing Ariana Grande go anywhere. But I will say I was shocked that she didn't at least like walk away with one award. I think Thank You Next was one of her better albums, maybe even her best album. And I think that she came onto the scene towards the beginning of the year with 7 Rings and Thank You Next she came in with a bang. There was no question that she was a superstar at that point. And on top of that, we've gotten this live album from the tour as well. So I think there was a huge hype to see what she was going to do last night, and her performance proved that she would be deserving of anything that she got. I was shocked that When We All Fall Asleep, Where Do We Go won Best Pop Vocal Album, mostly because usually if you win Best Pop Vocal Album, you don't win Album of the Year, and I was really expecting Billie to win Album of the Year. So for her to have gotten that album and then also won the highest category of the night was shocking. So I would have rather seen When We All Fall Asleep, Where Do We Go take Album of the Year and Ariana take home Best Pop Vocal Album. I think it would have balanced it out a little. And I think ultimately that's where my biggest struggle with the night comes is I agree that Billie is a powerhouse. I think that she has a lot more of a career to go and she will continue to prove herself as a young artist. But I think too, in her first attempt, I don't even want to say the word attempt because I don't think people make music for the awards, but at her first go-round at the Grammys, for her to win 5 Grammys in a single night, including the 4 top categories, seemed
improbable, I would say.
Yeah, it seemed improbable. It was something I didn't guess. None of my friends and I would have guessed it. We were at least expecting like Record of the Year or something to go to Old Town Road because of just like the impact and the reach that song ended up having this year. I was excited to see that Lizzo got Best Pop Solo Performance, but again, like I do think both of them could have been awarded a little bit more, as well as Ariana Grande.
Well, it's funny for you to talk about this because of everybody I know, you are the person who continually tells me that the Grammys never get it right. That the people seem every year to fumble the bag. And this, hearing you now, it kind of feels like they got a couple of them right, at least.
Yeah, I think that they were definitely eyeing several stars who did a lot for the industry this year, and awarded them as such. I'm like the only one who didn't receive any rec was Ariana, but I think to see Billie walk away with an award, Lizzo walk away with an award, and Lil Nas X walk away with an award, I think they ticked several boxes, but I do wonder for Billie if they checked too many. And I think that honestly Billie might feel that way as well, seeing her responses and her speeches last night. She was not excited. I mean, she was excited, of course, but it didn't feel like she deserved the acclaim that she was getting. And I think that is even mirrored in some of her fans, especially those who might not like feed into like that stan culture. It's my artist or no artist. I don't know. I agree she destroyed the scene this year, but to an extent it's like a share the wealth type of moment. Was Bad Guy like that song? Yeah, it killed. It dominated the charts, but I don't think it was worthy of a complete sweep, if that makes sense.
Let's talk back about Billie Eilish, because we were talking about all the awards that she's won and everything that she was able to do on Sunday night at the awards show. And we talked about the awards that she won. You thought that maybe she even felt maybe a little undeserving of some of them. And I was going to say this. The minute that you win a Grammy, there is a target on your back for the next year. And Casey Musgrave got it, and a lot of female artists have got it. And I think Billie's going to get it now, where the next album she puts out has to be as good or better than every project she's put out to this point.
I completely agree with you. I think it even goes into like the fans as well. She knows how cutthroat social media can be, and especially as a young artist who is doing something a little bit different from any of the other pop artists that are really huge right now, she is already catching a lot of flack for just being different. And I think that now that she has these Grammys, people are going to be quick to want to hate on her, to tell her that she's undeserving, and to pump these negative narratives towards her. And I just don't think that's fair to blame the artist for what the Recording Academy chooses. So to be pushing any sort of hate towards her is just unreasonable. But yeah, I think it does give us a high expectation. If you win Album of the Year, Record of the Year, Song of the Year, and Best New Artist, your next album better be Record of the Year, Song of the Year, Best New Artist,
or at least nominated for it,
or at least nominated for it, because you've set that bar. You've set you've set such high expectations for yourself just by being yourself. But I do think that is a sticky cycle that people get into, because artists, just like all of us, are human. So for them to create what is ever honest and emotive for them, I think it should be the priority.
All right, let's take the gloves off, Connor. I know there's a lot of things you didn't like about last night, or maybe some awards that you don't think went to the right people. So let's talk about it. Because it wasn't a perfect night. There's no way that you can be like, oh, last night's Grammys were perfect.
It wasn't perfect. I think we already touched on how I think like we could have rearranged some of the awards that Billy gotten to share the wealth. I don't even know where to begin. I think like if we wanted to start at the top of the show, Alicia Keys coming out as the host for the second year in a row. I was excited. She did a good job last year, but her coming out what felt a couple seconds late, with the energy of the death of Kobe Bryant on her shoulders, was not. I think it was the right thing for them to do production wise. They should have started with the Kobe Bryant memorial because they knew that that's what everybody was thinking about. But to go from a performance like Lizzo's and then straight into the Kobe Bryant memorial brought the energy of the show down to that level rather than maybe starting with the memorial and then going into Lizzo's performance. I think that might have allowed the night to kick off in a better way. And then speaking of the memorial, I'm like, I know they had to put that together last minute. They sounded horrible. And I don't know if it was just the sound mixing at the beginning of the night, because I noticed it was like that with Keith Urban and Cynthia Erivo when they came out to announce the best pop vocal performance.
I thought it got better as the night went on, though.
It definitely got better as the night went on. I thought that the sound mixing was pretty rough towards the beginning, and then as the night went on, got a lot better. But I think to start with Lizzo and then bring the tone back down to the death of Kobe Bryant definitely was a bad choice on their part, because that ended up just setting the tone. I don't know why Gwen Stefani and Blake Shelton were given a performance. I know that they're on The Voice. I know that The Voice is doing well. I know that they're together. That song did not compliment either of them, especially with the poor sound mixing that was going on towards the beginning of the show. And I don't know. I was like, they could have cut that number.
I didn't even know. So I knew that Gwen Stefani and Blake Shelton were dating. I did not realize that they'd been dating for 5 years.
Oh, yeah.
That performance did not show 5 years of a relationship.
No, I think that the staged relationship between Camila Cabello and Shawn Mendes shows more relationship than they did on that.
Which is something that has been rumored for a long time between those two. Not Keith Urban, or not Blake Shelton, but like between Camila and Shawn Mendes, that is always in the tabloids.
Well, people were shocked about it last night because they had hyped up this moment between Camila and Shawn with this, like, the First Man song and her performance, and people were assuming and even rumoring that she was, like, gonna propose to Shawn Mendes. And I don't know if that's, like, a huge rumor. I just had seen it on Twitter or something, but they also didn't walk on the red carpet together, and I think that, to me, comes across as, like, a little bit staged breakup-y, like, I'm not walking with you on the red carpet, but I'm gonna sing this song about the first man who ever loved me, which, speaking of, I'm like, I think that it was a sweet moment, of course, like, between her and her dad. Like, for a dad to hear how much their daughter loves them is a very, like, touching story, but there's something about the whole thing that came across as just really, really uncomfortable, and it was one of the cringeworthy moments of the night. What else didn't I like? I don't understand why Alicia Keys kept singing. It did not make any sense to me because she doesn't have an album dropping, so far as I know. No new music on the way. Nobody's asking. I think she could have kept it with the cute little montage singing at the piano thing she did at the beginning, but she needed to cut her speech of her just sitting talking on the piano in half.
So she's not going to get invited for year 3?
No, I hope not. I would be interested. I would like to see them go more the Oscar route and get rid of the host completely. Mostly because at this point it just is redundant, and the show was 3.5 hours long last night. Yeah. And seeing Alicia Keys perform for the third time with Brittany Howard from Alabama Shakes as her guitarist and backup vocals. When Brittany Howard delivered one of the best alternative albums of the year last year and then wasn't nominated. And I don't know if that was because of cutoffs or whatever, but Brittany Howard delivered an amazing album. And for the alternative genre as well as the rap genre to not feature any women last night was, to me, disgusting. I think that Megan Thee Stallion and Nicki Minaj should have been nominated for Best Rap Duo Performance. That doesn't make sense to me. That song absolutely blew up. And some of these other songs that were written by male rap, some of these other songs performed by male rappers were not nearly as hot button topics when they dropped as Megan Thee Stallion and Nicki.
No, I remember my Spotify stream cut off because it was just like so many people were on the app trying to listen to this song. And, you know, that is always going to be a critique on rap music. I don't think that there's any year we're going to get it where there's not a problem with the lack of diversity, A, at the Grammys, period, but B, in the rap genre grouping. You don't want, I personally, I don't want it to become like super political, right? Like I'm not asking for them to, okay, well, we need to check all these different diversity boxes. But year after year after year, if it continues to just be men, when we have artists like Nicki Minaj, when we have artists like Megan Thee Stallion, when we have this is 2019 was a year of the female rapper, I thought.
100%.
To not have anybody represented.
Yeah, I'm sitting here, female rap blew up this past year, and while they might not have the same numbers and streams as these male rappers do, it is despicable to me that any of the Academy would discount the work that they've done in the genre itself. Megan Thee Stallion, Nicki Minaj, Rico Nasty, Baby Mother. I didn't really like the project, but Lil' Kim. I'm like, there were so many female rappers dropping amazing projects last year, even just one-off singles, that I was confused as to why they weren't getting the rep that they deserved. Yeah.
So grade the night on an A to F like ratio right now.
If I had to grade it, I would probably give it like maybe like a C plus, B minus.
Okay, was it better than last year's?
No.
Okay. And last year you had a lot of issues because of Cardi B and stuff. So no Cardi B this year.
Well, I mean, she was there. We saw little peeks of her in the audience way far back in whatever row she was in. I don't know. I'm like trying to think back to last year's.
Relatively quiet night for Cardi B.
Yeah, completely
And
quiet
Migos.
night. I think it's because neither of them have much to talk about. I'm like, what did they do successfully this year?
That's true.
And I'm like, to be honest, what did they do successfully the year before? I'm like, we don't have to get into the Cardi B conversation because I'm a barb, but it's okay. I'm trying to think of more things that I liked, though, because there were several things. I thought Demi Lovato was unreal. I thought that was a really, really honest and like heart-wrenching performance from her.
Her comeback has been really impressive.
I think that it was, I don't know, it was just really, really honest. And for her to have choked up in the first line and then calmly restarted it, her vocals delivered, the lyrics delivered. It was a moment that I think will go down in Grammy history, as well as I think Tyler, the Creator's performance. And I think his speech was also, while it might have been unplanned, I think it was extremely honest. And I think that those end up being the best speeches of
I
the
thought his
night.
performance was the best one I've seen since Kendrick's All Right. Where Kendrick performed All Right, I think a couple years ago. Yeah, a couple years ago he performed All Right at the Grammys, and that was my favorite performance. I love Kendrick, first off. But his performance I thought was really good for that song. I thought Tyler matched that bar last night.
Yeah, I think Tyler showed the theatricality that you can bring to really anything. And I think that is really what the music industry is striving towards right now. Lizzo said it best when she was talking about making music that moves people and music that we can all relate to. I think if your music is lacking a sense of theatricality, it loses a sense of character. And without that character, it's really hard for people to latch on to it in a serious sense that will stay with them for a long time. Igor last year was phenomenal. So for him to have won that category against people like J. Cole, I think is it's a very righteous moment.
I think it secured him in his spot in hip hop.
Completely.
I don't think that there was a question where Tyler the Creator, and again, as a straight white guy, I don't know how much credibility I get on this, but just as a fan of hip hop music and rap music, I didn't think there was a question of where his standing was, but if there was, I think last night kind of secured that.
I think it's more along the lines of he's proving that these people who are actually making like alternative music, in the sense that they are rethinking their approaches to lyrics, rethinking their approaches to albums as full albums rather than just like singles to sell for the radio. People who are thinking about the process as part of the art form, rather than just the end product. I think that he showed that they have just as much of a stake and just as much of an impact as these people who are selling on the radio. And I think that one of my biggest struggles last night with a similar situation would be with them having FKA Twigs like listed as a performer and not letting her have the mic, especially when Usher was the main singer. And we don't have to go down like how creepy I feel Usher is just in general. I know that there's been several
allegations.
Yeah. There's been rumors here and there of him just being creepy. So for him to lead the Prince tribute made me uncomfortable. I think it made a lot of people uncomfortable. I was confused why Prince, as a queer individual in the music industry, wasn't introduced and repped by someone like Billy Porter when Billy Porter introduced the Jonas Brothers, which, mind you, their number could have been cut too. I don't know. It was just strange to see FKA Twigs used solely as a dancer on the stage as well as on the pole. And I think that a big part of her re-emergence into the music scene this go round with Magdalene, the pole plays a central character for her and is a very emotional element for her as well. So to kind of have her play as backdrop
doesn't feel right.
It doesn't feel right, especially for the Academy to have chosen her to strictly do pole. For those that don't know who FKA Twigs is and haven't listened to Magdalene and don't understand the pole as a art form and as a sport, they would be quick to just associate it with stripper culture and to have it again goes back to like that false sense of like diversity and inclusion that I feel like the Recording Academy is trying to push. It just didn't make any sense to me why she wouldn't have at least a moment in like this 7-minute medley tribute. And on top of that, I'm just going to keep going down the line of performances. I don't know why Aerosmith performed, and I don't know why their performance was as long as it was. I thought that she proved herself on that guitar. Not that she needed to prove herself, but she on the electric guitar and on the piano, she sounded amazing, and vocally she was amazing too. Though I do wonder why she was nominated for Album of the Year, equal to why I wonder why Lil Nas X was nominated for Album of the Year, because I feel like the individual tracks are really nice selling points, but I didn't feel like the project as a whole was something worthy of that sort of acclaim, especially like first go round. I'm trying to think. I don't know. Those were like some of the main highs and lows for me. So Billy, yeah, I'm like,
who won the night? Billy won the night.
Billy won the night.
Who lost the night?
I'm gonna say it's a tie between Lana and someone whose name I haven't mentioned at all this whole time. Lana's Norman fucking Rockwell lost, y'all. But yeah, Lana and Ariana Grande are the biggest losers of the night.
Tough. So who do we go into next year, 2021, the Grammys, that we expect to have a big performance? Or like to expect to do something great after what they did in 2020?
Does it have to come from this round
Nope,
of performers?
Does not.
I think y'all have seen the last of Beyonce on the Grammys. She's never going to come back. I would also say to an extent Jay-Z too.
You don't think they're going to go to the awards at all anymore?
Well, they haven't gone these past several years. I think the last time either of them were there was for Lemonade's nomination, and when Lemonade lost, I think that was Beyonce's last straw. I almost would be shocked if Rihanna came back, but...
Well, she doesn't make music anymore.
She's going to make music. Don't say that to me. I would say next year, keep an eye out for Gaga. I think that she's coming back with a vengeance with this next album. I want to say keep an eye out for... I don't know. I would love to see Poppy come in and like really gain the creds that she deserves.
I got 4 for you. It's going to be Gaga. It's going to be Kendrick Lamar. It's going to be Megan Thee Stallion.
Oh, Megan Thee Stallion for certain. She has to be.
She's going to be there.
Yeah. I don't know why that name didn't come to the top of my head like that. That was you handing me getting to talk about Megan Thee Stallion.
She's going to be there. Connor, thank you so much for coming on.
Of course. Anytime that you need me to come and be your resident music host, I'll come.
Love it. Thank you again to Connor for coming on. Thank you for you guys for listening to the podcast. We have a lot of great content, movie reviews, sports talk, Kobe remembrance. I'm still kind of shook up about his passing, like a lot of people are. So thank you so much for listening to the podcast. Please continue to listen. Like I said on the Remember Kobe deal, is that we have to remember that we love each other and to tell people while they're still alive that we love them. So love you guys. Thank you so much for listening.